Validation checks that your data is correct, complete, and meets your business rules. When the pipeline runs, it creates a validation report detailing the exceptions. You can then review the results, drilling down to the failed rules and applying filters to get to see what the problem was. You can now apply corrections to failed values straight in the report. Who created a correction is tracked and auditable. This builds a library of data corrections to improve data quality in the future. So let's see how it works. So I've just run this pipeline and I've gone to the Outputs tab to see the results. I've gone to the Validations tab of the results, where all the validation steps in my pipeline have been summarized for me here. I can see I've got a validate operation in stage 1, date cleanse doing some date validations, also in stage 1, and in stage 12, I'm checking that an aggregation is rolling up correctly. So let's go in and have a look at the full validation report. So if we go in, the first thing we notice is we've just got a summary of the failed and warned validation rules. If I want to see what the past rules were, there's a filter for that. Or let's say if I just wanted to see what rules failed, there's a filter for that too. Let's go in and see one of these failed rules. So the zip must be populated and 5 digits long. Drill down straight to the failed rows. And you can see that these digits are all 4 digits long, and so they failed. We've got a summary of the rule up here. We can quickly navigate between the rules in our pipeline here. And we can see that we've checked across multiple inputs simultaneously here. We're looking at this one on top. So 7 rows with warnings within this one input. I can download the failed rows here, or I can apply filters to drill into my data a bit more. So I can either filter by column, or I can show only the unique values in a column. I can show and hide particular columns, or just only show the columns with errors in them if I wish. And that just helps me get to the data that's failed quickly and understand what's going on. So I'll just toggle that filter off. So next to the column of failed rows, there's a column called corrections. And this is where we can apply an amendment to the data. So it looks like this 6419 has been trimmed perhaps by Excel, which sometimes trims leading zeros off a number. And if I want to correct it, I just click on it, put a 0 in, and it's going to change all errors that match that value. So every instance of 6419 in my zip code column in my data is now going to be mapped to 06419. You can see that it's checking that that's going to pass there. So if I was to put in an incorrect value here, it does a check, and it lets me know that that corrected value is still going to fail the validation check. So that's really handy to know. So I can now just go in and enter the corrected value, or I can remove that correction. Now, if we go into this tab on the top right, I can see that all the validation corrections that have been made to this rule have been recorded here. It's not just recording the actual mapping, it's recording who made that correction and when. So it gives you that full audit log of who did what. And I can see that my corrections that I just applied just now are here. And if I'm not happy with that correction, I can just delete it. And it's gone. I can also reorder these corrections. So these corrections apply in order from top to bottom. So if I wanted this correction to apply before any of the other ones, I could just move it. And it's gone to the top of the list. And I just click here to go back to the data view. Let's go in and have another look at the corrections window. So that gave me the option there to change all matching errors. Now I might only want it to apply when a certain condition is met. And that means, for example, I only want it to apply when the state is CT. And I can stack these conditions. Maybe when the policy number is 1013. So that allows me to be really specific with my mappings if I just want them to apply to, say, a certain policy number or a certain date or a certain geographic region. And the other thing to notice here is you don't just have to enter a text value. You can also enter a formulae. So if I just go into the calculate editor there by clicking the FX button or pressing equals, I can use the same formulae that we know from the calculation editor, from the validation editor. I'm just going to paste one in now. Here's one I made earlier. And what this is doing is it's saying whenever the zip code is less than 5 digits, add zeros on the front to complete the zip code. Now that's still going to apply just to that value. It just quickly gives me a way of going through these values and correcting the error without having to worry about fat fingering each correction. This can also be a really powerful tool. For example, if you were wanting to put a value from another column in here. Let's say you were correcting a date column and you wanted to calculate effective date from expiry date. So we can see here the effective date is blank. If we could calculate the effective date from the expiry date, for instance. Okay, so we've got some corrections in place there. Now, this bit is important. You need to run the pipeline to apply the corrections to your incoming data. So remember, this is a bulk mapping that's going to apply to all instances of these failed values within this column. So let's give it a run. So the corrections apply at the point that the validation check appears in the pipeline. So we can have a look at where that's happening. So we've got this validation operation in the pipeline, and the data is going to be corrected just before it goes through the validation check here. So all the validation corrections are stored and linked to this operation. And we can see that with this symbol here. So if we just click on that, it shows that full history again of all the edits that have been made there, across multiple columns, across multiple operations, across multiple checks. Now, if we were to delete this operation, those validation checks would no longer be applied to your data. So just something to be aware of there. Okay, that pipeline has run. If we go to the validation report, we can see this blue line here indicates the number of rows that have got corrections applied to them. Let's go in and have a look at that. So the total length of that line is showing the number of rows that had warnings, and the blue proportion of it shows the amount that had been corrected, and it's telling me that there are 2 rows outstanding with warnings still. So let's go in and look at that. So what's really handy here is it's preserved the original value in the data. So it's showing you the failed value that came in and the value that the last pipeline run corrected it to. So all fully transparent about what the pipeline is doing to your data. And if we go back to the validation report main view and click on the pass filter, we can see that with this validation check, all the rows have now passed because they have had corrections applied to them. So that's shown with a blue tick. If we go into that, we can see the corrections that applied there. So we filled out a set of blank values with a 4-digit code. So that is how you apply data corrections straight within the validation report in Quantemplate, all fully tracked, all fully auditable, helping you build a library of data corrections to improve data quality in the future.